Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an article titled, Men, Do You Know How Sexy You Are When You're Vulnerable? Get Emotionally Naked. And to no surprise guys, this article is written by a woman, and this is her going into this whole thing that talks about how her previous marriage, her ex-husband, the father of her child, this guy obviously would never open up to her, he'd never be vulnerable to her, talk about his feelings and all that, and she just couldn't take it and left him. Okay, even though this guy was busting his ass to provide because she wasn't working and all that, he still wasn't making her giant laundry list of things that she expected out of her husband, okay? And so this whole thing is her trying to convince men, basically, that you need to be emotional and vulnerable to your lady and pour out your feelings and your fears and all that stuff, your inner child, all that bullshit. And that will be seen as sexy and attractive to women and blah, 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 blah. Now, I'm sure all you guys are quite aware that is all the biggest bunch of crap ever. And I'm sure many of you guys have done that at least once. And I'm willing to bet you pretty much all the money I have that didn't work out very well for you, right? How do I know? Because I did the same bullshit when I was younger because I didn't know any better. Because after all, that is what you see for decades now in movies, television, commercials, songs, the guys being emotional and vulnerable and the woman finding it attractive and sexy. But in reality, real life, it does the exact opposite, okay? Now, I did a video on this back in April when I just started the channel. It was a 5-minute video basically telling guys don't do this. And that video got more hate than you would imagine. All the comments I got, the emails I got, other channels, small and large, were taking clips of that video, trashing it. I mean, I thought it was funny that I got all that attention for it, and it helped my channel big time. Thank you to those jackasses that did that. But all these women were just losing their minds saying, like, how I'm toxic and blah, blah, blah. No, I'm saying is, that is a major turnoff. But like I said before, guys, most women do not understand what they emotionally respond to. Most women understand what they want. They don't know what they want. And so they say that, yeah, I want a guy that is emotional and pours out his feelings and vulnerable and blah, 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 blah. And then a guy goes and does that and it turns them off. Seriously. Because you can't get a guy who's going to be that strong, masculine male, a rock that most women want to have, and at the same time be this soft, emotional crybaby. It doesn't work that way, okay? The only way you're going to see that balance will be in the movies, and movies are bullshit, okay? So this is very important to say, guys, and so if you guys do that, don't do it. It's not going to end well. Now let me just say this real quick, because I'll get into the article, but this must be addressed. I'm not saying you got to walk around with everything bottled up inside, because you'll be a ticking time bomb. If you got to talk about things that you're stressed about or worried about, talk to your closest guy friends, the guys that you can absolutely trust, that aren't going to judge you or any shit like that, and get things off your chest. End of story. Don't use your lady, your wife, your girlfriend, whatever, as your therapist, your emotional sounding board. Otherwise, it will turn her off. Even though she may say she wants you to, don't do it. And I'm not saying some people may say, okay, just don't act like a pussy around. Don't whine and cry and shit like that. No, you even talk calmly about things you're stressed about, and that it's going to, in varying degrees, turn her off. Because you're stopped being the together rock of a guy that she wants. Instead, you're showing that you're not as strong as she thought you were. And I know a lot of people are going to have a hard time accepting this, but it's the truth. I've had girlfriends where I've opened up to, and I handled it in a very calm, masculine way. I wasn't getting all worked up and emotional, and it still turned them off. Even though they tried to prod it out of me, okay? I was calm about it. I didn't get all worked up, and I could see by the girls different times, body language and facial expressions, it was turn them off. So you don't do that. Save that for your guy friends to unload upon in a masculine way. Don't act like a little bitch about it, okay? But I'm not saying, so you don't walk around like a ticking time bomb. And with your lady, if she senses something's wrong, just simply say, hey, I'm having a bad day, everything will be okay, done. End of subject, okay? And I'll get a little more into that as I go into the article, but that had to be addressed, guys. I know I was talking for a bit here, but it must be said. So, her article starts off saying, 6 years ago, I chose to leave a man who wouldn't talk. When things got emotional, he would work and work and work. I didn't pester him to talk. I thought if I let him be, he would emerge with words and we would feel connected once again. But he never emerged. It was hard to leave. We had an 18-month-old and he was the breadwinner. Our initial agreement had been that he would carry most of the financial responsibility until our daughter was 3, and we would contribute equally. Okay, so what do we got here? So they agreed that he would take care of all the bills, he would be working and provide, okay? More like she agreed to that. Meanwhile, she's complaining, this guy's working and providing for his ladies, his wife and the child, but he's still not doing everything that she wants, and now she's going to admit she's going to leave. And you're going to find out here that he's a general contractor, so guess what? And it was in the summertime, guess what? That's a busy time for general contractors. She goes on, that meant he worked long hours during the summer for his contracting business. Eventually, his long hours outside of the house led him to spend more long hours in front of his computer doing bookkeeping when he came home. It meant I spent 10 to 12 hours a day alone with my daughter, whom he played with for an hour when he got home so I could shower and have some me time, which meant binging on Netflix to my very depleted self. We barely interacted. I wanted to talk or hang out after our daughter went to bed, and he would complain that he was too tired and it wasn't a good time. So again, this guy's working 10 to 12 hours a day as a general contractor. He owns his own business. This is in the summertime when it's peak time for general contractors. He's the only one bringing all the money, okay? It is his responsibility to bring that money and provide, which means he's busting his ass outside the house as a general contractor, obviously probably managing other guys. And when he's at home, he's got to keep up with the books. Otherwise, he's got a major problem. And big surprise, he's tired. He's worn out after a long day. So you can't give this guy too much of a hard time about this, especially in the summer when it's peak time. But you see how you can't ever make him happy. It's his job to provide. They agreed on that, or she agreed on that. He's busting his ass, but now she wants him to come home and talk and this and this and this. The guy's tired. Maybe in the fall when things slow down, it'll be easier. Nope. It was never a good time. Eventually, our communication merely revolved around what needed to get done around the house. I remember the night I left him vividly. It was just another Memorial Day, and a major heat wave hit upstate New York. I remember I had asked him a few days before if he would put the air conditioner in our bedroom window, and he said he was too busy. I was putting my daughter down for a nap, beads of sweat dripping down both our faces as he passed by the bedroom on the way to the basement workshop. She says, "Can you put the AC unit in now? It's too hot in here for her to sleep." It happened quickly, so quickly I started to shake. His fist went through the hallway wall. My baby was shaking in my arms too. I hugged her tight. He stood there with wide eyes and a gaping mouth holding his hand. So he snapped. Now I want to point something out. Guy obviously has a lot in his mind. He's stressed out. It's Memorial Day, so peak season is beginning as a contractor, or at least has been. Okay? Now I'm going to be fair here. It's not a lot of effort to pick up the fucking wall unit air conditioner, put it in the window, slide it in, arrange some things, and close the window and turn it on. That's not that hard of work. Come on here. Okay, I'll be fair there, all right? And yes, it may take a little time to seal it up completely, but you can at least do enough to get the room cool. So I can't blame her there. But still, this guy is stressed out, obviously. And him punching the wall isn't going to go well with women because they're going to think they're fearful that fist may go to them. It's fair. She goes on, I sped down the stairs and outside the porch stoop with my little girl in my arms. Taking deep breaths, I looked up at the bird's nest on our porch. My daughter said, "Bid," in her toddler voice. I smiled, holding back fear-based tears. Yes, baby birds. Wren. That's how you got your name. You're named after a very special little songbird. As I was saying this, my insides were piercing every cell with shards of fear. She's really being dramatic here, as you can clearly see. Maybe she can be a writer for movie or TV one day, because you can see the drama in here in this article, the way she's writing. Okay, she was upset, and she was a little fearful. Okay, fine, but let's not get over the top, lady. My words were soothing me more than my daughter. I was desperately hoping she didn't feel my fear too much. The baby bird offered a nice distraction for a few quiet minutes. Then he walked out to the porch, his face full of shame, his head hanging low. "I'm sorry," he whispered in a barely audible tone. The moment he spoke words that had a hint of feeling in them, a rage rushed over me. It was motivating, energizing, kind of a force. It was a mama bear kind of ferocity. I stood up, tightened my loving grip of my daughter. What you did isn't okay. You terrified our baby and me. I'm done. I started to walk to the car. He begged me not to go. I'm going to my parents. Please give us some space. Oh, so he comes out and apologizes, and he even begs her not to go, hence being emotional. Nope, that's it. She's done. Look, again, he could have put it in the stupid air conditioner, but we all know it wasn't about the air conditioner. It was about all the other shit that, in her mind, that he wasn't doing right, and that was the excuse. And him hitting the wall, yes, he hit the wall. It wasn't like he hit her, but obviously that scared her. Generally, women get really worked up if you get pissed off and you punch stuff and you kick stuff. Okay, believe me, I've lost my temper at times and kicked trash cans when I've handled it in a bad way. And I advise you not to do that if you're going to do relationships, because they get really worked up over that. But the point is, yeah, he scared her, but it wasn't the end of the world here. Goes on. This wasn't the first time he had an angry outburst that broke his hand. Aha, okay. He had done the same thing to the wall in our living room almost exactly a year before. It was another hot day. I left him then too, but only for a few days. He came to my parents, full of remorse, with a bouquet of wildflowers in his hands. The flowers and remorse won me over. So did the fact that our daughter, who was 6 months at the time, didn't witness the event. A 6-month child is not going to remember him punching the wall. Okay, and again, he's punching the wall. He wasn't hitting her, so let's not get ridiculous here. But this time was different. I knew our baby would hold a memory of this day in her subconscious forever. No, she wouldn't. Stop being a drama queen, lady. And while I knew he would never lay a hand on me, I felt in my bones that this was the grand finale of our relationship. We were becoming my parents, and I didn't want that for my child. There was a pattern forming that could not be changed if I was the only one willing to do the work. Do the work? What's this guy been doing all this time? You don't think he has been working on multiple things? And I don't just mean paying the bills. I didn't want my daughter to be raised in a household filled with tension and silence and emotional repression mixed with bouts of angry outbursts. I experienced that in my childhood, and I didn't want my daughters reliving my family history. Sounds like she married a guy that maybe was like her dad. A lot of people, both men and women, end up getting together with a partner. If you're a guy with a woman and a woman with a guy, or same sex or whatever, that's a lot like your parents. It's amazing. That's why it's so important, guys, that if you are in a shitty marriage and there's tension and fighting and all that, and it's an ugly environment, the idea of staying in it for the kids is a bad idea, because those kids are going to observe these negative things, and then one way or another, statistically, they're going to end up in relationships just like that later in life. So if you really love your kids and you don't want them to experience the same crap, if you're in a bad marriage, it's best to part ways, and hopefully round 2 you get it right so they can see a normal, healthy thing once you've fixed yourself. At least one parent can be not screwed up, but otherwise that's going to happen. And she obviously married a guy that was kind of like her parents or her father. And who's to blame for that? I didn't walk away without trying first. Months before, we tried hard. We went to therapy. We talked it out, but nothing would change at home. He opened up on the therapist's couch after much poking and prodding on her part. With me, he simply shut down. I felt hopeless and helpless and very, very alone. I felt disrespected and confused. I wasted too many hours wondering what was wrong with me and trying to figure out how I could be a better partner to get him to open up. I exhausted myself by trying to do his work for him. What I needed is what many women not only need but also crave desperately: my man to open up to me. Let me just say this. This is really important for you guys that do relationships, because a lot of guys that will follow me here, whether they want to admit it or not, do relationships, okay? If you do relationships and you have a girlfriend or wife, I warn you not to do that, but if you're already married, what's done is done. You can't go around being a fucking robot, okay? If you're a robot and basically you're emotionless and she's expressing her feelings to you, and this is the relationship channel, but I'm trying to help you out here. If she's talking about feelings and shit to you and you don't say anything, trust me, you can set your watch to the fact that sooner or later she's going to walk out on you, okay? You got to at least reciprocate a little bit. I'm not saying you got to go texting her and calling her on the phone, telling you love her 5 times a day. I mean, that's way overdone. Believe me, your ass will be in the friend zone by the end of the week. But sparingly, and I'm going to emphasize sparingly, you can reciprocate when she starts it, like, oh, I love you too, baby, or whatever the hell you're going to say, But not pouring out all the time. But if you're being this zombie, with no emotions, a robot, it ain't gonna go well, okay? But there's a fine line between doing that sparingly and doing it all the time, pouring your heart out and being like these guys that show on TV. It ain't gonna work, okay? And also, by the way, with the guy wanting the guy to open up, look, guys, we handle our problems and things like that differently than women. Generally, guys, when they're stressed out and they got something on their mind, we tend to disappear and figure that shit out on our own. It's easier for us that we'll go off for a drive. We may go fishing. We may go down to the man cave and work it out ourselves. We don't resolve problems usually by opening up. That's how women generally resolve problems. That's why when she's upset, she wants you, if you do relationships, to open her up. And that's why she gets kind of bitchy and bitter when you don't open her up, okay? Because she thinks you don't care. They solve their problems by talking things through. And a lot of women make the mistake thinking that's how they can get guys to deal with their problems. They try to get the guys to open up, and the guys don't want to open up because that's just how we are. That's how we're designed to be, okay? So, but also guys think they can get women to resolve their problems by leaving them alone. Doesn't work that way. So, and believe me, I've been in enough relationships to know this, guys. So if you're going to do relationships and she's upset, you better open her up. Otherwise, it's going to be a problem for you, a lot of drama and headaches. On the other hand, for women watching this, because I got female followers, if your guy's stressed and upset, just tell him, hey, I'm here for you if you need me, and let him go. Let him go work it out on his own. He'll be fine. And if he wants to talk about it, he will. But don't give him shit because he doesn't want to open up and pour out his feelings. And by the way, when he does that, how's he acting? By him pouring out his feelings and emotions, how is he behaving? He's behaving the way a woman would to resolve her problems. And guess what? Most women don't want a guy that acts like a woman. They want a guy who acts like a man, who's their rock. Okay? You know, it's like in the movie. I'm going to give you an example here. I'm sure most of you guys have seen the movie The Godfather. There's a scene in The Godfather in the beginning of the movie when they're having the big wedding party in the backyard, and they keep going back to Vito Corleone's office, where Johnny Fontaine, who's his nephew, is the fictional big Hollywood singer, is sitting on his desk talking to the Godfather, or kind of whining to the Godfather that he can't get this part in this movie. And the Godfather is just sitting back, listening, and the guy's whining and whining. And finally he says something like, "Oh, Godfather, I don't know what to do. And the Godfather jumps out of his chair, grabs him by his shirt, and smacks him in the face and says, "What's the matter with you?" And he says, "Is this how you act around those Hollywood big shots, whining like a woman?" And he's like, "I don't know what to do," making fun of him. And then the guy kind of comes out of his whiny funk, and Godfather sets him straight and helps him out. But the point is this. Yes, it's a movie, but the point is that guy was whining and pouring his feelings out, acting like a little bitch. And the Godfather, who is the Godfather and a tough dude, he put him in his place. Because you think the Godfather, when he was stressed out, would go to his wife and behave in the same manner? No. But that was back in 1970 or 72 when the movie came out. And that's before movies and TV started going in a way to try to convince men to be like that guy was in The Godfather. If they made The Godfather today, given how things are, they may actually either deleted that scene or had The Godfather handle that in a different way. So you don't want to be that way, either to your women or your friends. You calmly, with your guy friends, you can calmly say what's on your mind, but with your lady, simply, "Hey, I'm having a bad day, I'm stressed, everything will be okay." But you got to get out. You got to get out somewhere, otherwise you're a ticking time bomb. That ain't cool either. So, but if she wants him to be all emotional and all that, it doesn't work that way. And it'll turn them off. And a lot of guys know that. So but women don't get this. And they want guys to act like them, but it doesn't work that way. And ultimately, they act like them. They stop acting like the men they fell for, and it's going to turn them off. But you can't win because most women don't know what they want or know what they emotionally respond to. All right, it goes on. What this world needs most are partnerships that are oozing with vulnerability. The kind of vulnerability that is mixed with the salty tears of emotional release and the juices of lovemaking. The kind of vulnerability that causes breakthroughs and not breakdowns. I shut down my heart for a long time after I left my ex. I lost faith in the opposite sex. I lost hope that men who could open up and share their hurts and fears or insecurities, even when it scared them shitless to do so, even existed. Guys don't do that, or at least guys will do it because they've been conditioned to do that by movies and TV, but guess what happens? Ones that have done that and learned the hard way, they're not going to do that because they know what's going to happen, okay? You can't have it both ways. You can't have a guy that's going to be your strong rock in life and be the masculine man you want, this is to women, but then expect him to be crying his eyes out and being vulnerable and all that. It doesn't work that way. And by the way, a guy ought to know darn well when you open up and let all your fears and insecurities and vulnerabilities, there are a lot of women that will use that against you later on down the road when they're pissed off at you, or ready to end it with you or whatever, to manipulate you to get what they want. I'm not saying all, but a lot do, and we all know this. She continues, I recently met a man that had the courage to take a deep dive into his insecurities with me. In a moment of tension, as he stood there, averting his gaze, I gently asked, what's going on for you? He took a deep, half-exasperated breath. You don't have to tell me if you don't want to. No pressure. I meant what I said. Based on my past, I knew I couldn't force a man to open up if he didn't want to. Ding, ding, ding. I knew he wouldn't open up to me, and when he was ready. I was just hoping this would be when a man and not if man. Or whatever she's saying here. My whole being lit up when he started to shudder his feelings out. They poured out in choppy sentences that began to slice through like the tension like a machete. Within moments, I felt closer to him than ever. She may have felt closer to him, but I guarantee you that deep down, she didn't feel attraction for him in spite of what she's going to say in this article. I knew why he'd been holding back. He was feeling insecure. No, he wasn't. He was feeling smart, because that's not going to work out for him in the long run. Or, if you didn't already know from past experience, he's just not naturally designed to pour out his feelings like a woman would. When he gave voice to his feelings, his whole body relaxed. His eyes met mine with new confidence. As our eyes locked, years of hopelessness washed out of me. I smiled at him, and he felt like my whole being had glowed. It was the kind of smile you get when something you've been dreaming of suddenly appears right in front of you. Vulnerability is simply the expression of our feelings, as they are, right here and right now. It's that simple stuff preschool songs are made of. Yes, preschool songs, because little kids are little emotional machines. That's how they are, crying and carrying on, all that, when they're little kids. She's trying to say she wants guys to act like a bunch of preschool kids? But grown-up humans make it so complicated. Songs go from the pure expression of the here and now to ballads about being misunderstood and rejected. Our culture has made expressing feelings even more complicated for males. I've talked to so many males that have said they would be viewed as weak or effeminate if they talked about their authentic feelings with the boys. Instead, they make fun of their feelings, or they numb them by getting drunk or high with the guys, or they get in aggressive sports and let them all out in a warlike style. Again, this is how guys are. But remember that Gillette commercial when they were showing a bunch of boys roughhousing and all that with the whole toxic masculinity thing that they're trying to get rid of? Guys don't talk about it because that's just not how we are, okay? And believe me, if you got good friends that are your brothers and you're stressed out you're worried about you're going to lose your job or how you're going to pay the bills, you could talk about that with your close buddies, okay? You don't act like Johnny Fontaine did in The Godfather, but you can say just matter-of-factly, yeah, I'm a little worried about that, and the guys will help you with that issue. Trust me, going home to your wife saying how stressed out you are, that you're going to lose your job and not be able to pay the bills, believe me, that ain't going to go well, okay? Now, if you lost your job, you got to tell her, because that's not cool if you're faking it and things like that. She needs to know, this is if you guys are married, but just your worry and fears about losing your job and not being able to pay the bills, that ain't going to go over very well. Trust me. Because then you'll have to deal with that concern you have and fear and her being all worked up. If men knew how much of a turn-on vulnerability is, there would be a lot less relationship tension and a lot more sex in this world. There may be a little bit less tension in terms of the guy and the gal in the relationship, but it ain't going to improve the sex, because then the guy's acting more feminine and she'll then start acting more masculine. And guess what will happen then? She'll then start losing more and more attraction if the guy keeps this up. And then next thing you know, she's complaining that my guy, why can't he be more of a man? Why can't he be strong? Why can't he be my rock? I feel like I got to be the leader. I feel like I got to be the man. I feel like I got to take care of things. And next thing you know, she suddenly finds herself attracted to the Chad and Tyrone types that she sees at the gym that are masculine men and strong, and ends up, one way or another, cheating with a guy like that who doesn't do any of these things that she says she wants her man to do. Think I'm full of shit? How many stories have I read about this? You guys know what I'm talking about. If men allowed themselves to soften, open up the raw feelings of the moment, they would tap into a well of deep confidence and passion that they never knew existed within them. But most men fear opening up, not because they fear their partner will reject them, but because they fear society will. What will happen when feelings start to get acknowledged and your partner loves you more for it and not less? Will you feel less apt to get drunk with the guys? Will your motorcycle start rusting? Will your sarcasm melt away? In other words, all these things that you once were when she first met you, the guy that would hang out with his buddies, get drunk with his buddies, ride the motorcycle, be a smartass, are you saying that all of a sudden the guy will stop doing that? What will happen? The guy will then stop being the guy that she was initially attracted to in the first place, and he will soften. And then she'll then one day realize and say, what happened? You changed. You're not the same guy. And he's thinking, well, I did everything you wanted me to do. I opened up. I became softer. See? I don't know what will happen within your social circles once you start shredding your layers of protection and shame. But I do know that your lover will thank you. Lover or wife? Your lover's going to be turned off and your wife's going to be turned off. Your lover, if it's purely a lover, is going to disappear. Your wife, her attraction for you, she may appreciate you're going to be opening up, but her attraction, her sexual attraction, will start to decline. If you don't believe me, go ahead and try it. Just watch what will happen. And I can almost guarantee you will experience a level of emotional intimacy that is better than an orgasm. Get the hell out of here. For real. Better, not just because it will feel amazing, but because it will be a long-lasting kind of amazing. I can also share that I've known men that have shed their layers of protection by starting to open up, to be honest. It started with one moment of courage when they walked through the fear of sharing what was on their mind and in their heart and risked it all. And that once they pushed through their first moment and got love and acceptance and not the rejection they felt so terrified of, they wanted more. Some of them told me their relationships with their male friends changed for the better. They became the light bearer. When they dropped their sarcasm and for sensitivity, their friends felt curiosity and respect. Okay. What are you doing differently, man? I like your vibe. It feels like you're really present and more relaxed. Tell me how I can feel this way too. What guys are talking like this? What guys? Who is she kidding? This is complete bullshit. Well, maybe the conversation didn't go exactly like that. No shit, lady. But even an inkling of that can open the floodgates for a new type of male. Oh my God. The so confident with his own emotions that sexy kind of male. Ooh la la. I'm swooning just writing it out. Men, women want you. All of you. We love your naked bodies, loving on ours. But even more than that, we love your emotional nakedness. The more you reveal what's going on in your mind and in your heart, the more turned on we are going to get. And we both know what happens when you turn us on. Ooh la la. Now go get emotionally naked for your woman. Now. There will never be a good time or the right time. The fear will always be there. Get emotionally naked. Now. You can thank me later. Yeah, guys. Go follow what she's saying here. Go try that. If you don't believe me, if you found this channel and you actually watched this whole video to this point and you think I'm full of shit, then go do that with your lady. Go pour out your feelings and emotions and be that soft guy that they show in the commercials and TV and movies and just see how it goes. Let me know if she's tearing your clothes off at the moment, if she's so turned on by you being vulnerable. Let me know how that works out for you, because I'm willing to bet you pretty much everything I have, it ain't going to end very well. She may appreciate that you're opening up, but believe me, there's what's going on in here, and there's what's going on in here. And believe me, if you are in a relationship and you want to keep her feminine and attracted to you and all that, you want this to be drawn towards you, not this. Okay? Otherwise, it's not going to end well for you. Again, I'm doing this, guys. This is an entertaining article showing just basically women don't understand what they emotionally respond to. They don't know what they want. But also for the guys that do relationships, all that, to understand that. Like I said, you do relationships. Believe me, if you're walking around being a robot and she's telling you that she loves you and other shit, if you don't reciprocate a little bit, sparingly, guess what? you're out of there. I'm telling you right now, okay? They don't want robots. But it doesn't mean you'll be pouring your heart out and telling her that you love her 5 times a day and your emotions and feelings. You'll be in the friend zone at the end of the week. So there's that little balance, sparingly. In regards to open up the feelings and your worries and fears and vulnerabilities, don't do it. All you have to say is, hey, I got a lot in my mind. Everything will be okay. And change the subject, okay? But you got to vent somewhere. Either you figure that shit out for yourself or you talk about it with your buddies in a masculine way. You can't be a ticking time bomb because next thing you know, you're punching the wall like the dude in the story or kicking down trash cans or whatever you may do. And that's going to scare a lot of women. And again, if you do relationships, you don't want that. Now, of course, if you are just pump and dump, and you do rotations and casual relationships, you don't have to worry about this stuff because they're not your girlfriend, so who gives a crap? And, dime a dozen. So, all right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Let me know your experiences. Let me know if you've been the one that would try these things in the past, being vulnerable, opening up, all that stuff, and how to go for you. I'm willing to bet not too well. And I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of ladies on here yelling at me as per usual, but hey, that's just how it is. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.